Okay, so today we are going to listen to Mr. Benedict. Benedict will talk about John Locke. John Locke is one of the political philosophers. So we are going to see the political philosophy of John Locke and how it relates to peace, governance, government. So let's listen to him. Mr. Smith, can you continue?
Okay, thank you, sir. My name is L. Dennis Smith Jr. I'm going to talk about John Locke. John Locke. Uh, okay, I'm going to talk about John Locke, philosopher, uh, one of the great philosophers of all time. I'm going to relate it to peace and governance. Okay, so let's move on. Next one. Okay, philosophy of peace and governance. John Locke. Okay. Okay. Who is John Locke? Okay. Uh, John Locke is one of the most well-known philosophers and political theorists of the 17th century. Was John Locke. He made fundamental contribution to current view of limited liberal government and is frequently recognized as the founder of the school of thought known as British empirical thinking. In addition, he had a significant impact on educational theory, relations, tolerance, and theological. So he was the man who always used to talk about your freedom. No, yeah, we should take control of what we have around us. Yeah, we should have our rights, what we want to do, based on what relation you come from, Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, you can name it, So you have your right. Nobody is going to choose for you to worship a special God. You have the right to do what you want to do. Okay. So we'll move to the next one. Okay. What is philosophy? This is the question we are going to look at. What is philosophy? Philosophy is the study of fundamental questions about existence, knowledge, values, reasons, mind, and language. It is a way of thinking deeply about life, the universe, and everything in it, questioning assumptions, and exploring the nature of reality and human experience. So this is the definition of philosophy. Okay, we got to look at the existence, the real way of life. Woman should marry man. Woman is woman. Man is man. That's a real existence of life. Okay, you cannot say, apple is orange. It's not a real existence. You see, so he's talking about the real knowledge about life. It's not the opposite. Okay, so move to the next one. uh, John Locke definition of peace. Okay, his own definition of peace. John Locke's concept of peace is deeply tied to his ideas on natural rights, social contract, and governance. For Locke, peace is not simply the absence of conflict or war. It is a condition of social harmony and justice where individuals' rights are protected and society functions with mutual respect, freedom, and cooperation. Okay, so this is the definition of John Locke. Okay, he's talking about peace is not only the absence of conflict, okay, or war. Okay, so he's also talking about justice, to protect the society, you know, mutual respect, freedom. We all should have freedom. Okay, we all should respect each other. The government should respect citizens. Government shouldn't overact. So that this is the definition of John Locke. Okay, so it's not only the absence of conflict, okay, but the condition of social harmony and justice. Okay, so the next one, uh, peace has he also talked about the peace as protection of natural rights. Locke believed that true peace exists in a society where individuals' natural rights, life, liberty, and property are safeguarded. In this view, peace is an environment in which people can live without fear or unjust interfere in their lives. When people feel secure in their rights, social humor and order are more likely to be maintained. Okay, you see, so he's talking about your liberty, okay, your right to your life, to protect your property. If you have a legal property, business, or your own private house, the government should protect it. If it is you bought it legally, it's not in to buy something in illegal, then the government should find a common ground. Okay, so he's talking about fear also. We shouldn't live with fear. We should live freely, have our own way of thinking, our own way of doing things. Okay, so let's move to the next one. Okay, peace. He's talking about peace as justice and fair governance. Okay, for Locke, peace is closely connected to justice. You see, if we have peace, we will also have justice. If there is no peace, no justice. That's where you see war. Okay, you see conflict. Okay, so uh, which he saw as the fair and equal treatment of individuals honoring the law. In this vision, a government that enforces laws fairly and protects the rights of its citizens establishes a peaceful society. Locke argued that when justice is upheld by a government that genuinely represents the people, it leads to stability and mutual respect within the community. You see? So if you have a government, who has uh, you know, good laws, regulation for the people, establish a peaceful society. You also have justice, okay? You have stability, okay? People, you have mutual respect within the community, So I think this part is relates to Africa, meaning the government don't care about the citizen, they only care about few individuals. So this one is particularly about Africa. The governments, they don't really have time for the common people. Okay, they only have time for the rich people in the middle class. But if you look at in Asia, they have time for almost everybody. They don't pick and choose. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Uh, Peace through social contract and consent. Okay. Locke's social contract theory suggests that people create governments to ensure peace by protecting their natural rights. The peace Locke vision is therefore grounded in the idea of consent. People willingly give power to a government in exchange for protection and fair treatment. If people are governed by laws they help create or consented to, they are more likely to respect those laws, reducing social conflict. You see, so this one law is talking about if everybody abides by the laws in the community or the country, we all have, respect, will be protected and treated fairly, you know. So this one is also one of the main idea about our country, you know. So we should abide by the laws. In Africa, most of the time, the people who create the law, they don't abide by the law. You know, that's is one of our problem we have. If you make the law, you should abide by the law. You should set example. You know, so this is what law is talking about. Everybody should abide by the law. Okay, so we shouldn't have social conflict. You see, that's why you have sometimes in country you see protests. For now, what is going on in South Korea? The president just came up and make a broad statement like he wants to make the soldier military to have a say to in the law, and they are very smart. They know that if the military have or say in the legislative or senator, they might go to war with North. So now they are having protests. It's not easy now. So this is what law is talking about. Though we should respect the law. Or one man cannot come and just make a law, enforce a law on the people. It's not good. Okay, so move to the next one. Uh, peace, true tolerance. Locke, writing on relations, tolerance also connect to his idea of peace. He argued that allowing people to follow their own beliefs without persecution will reduce conflict and contribute to societal peace. He saw tolerance as a moral and practical foundation of peace, encouraging harmony in a diverse society. You see, so this one is talking about tolerance. You know, he always used to argue, to allow people to follow their own belief. You want to become a pagan, you want to become a Muslim, a Christian, you want to dress somehow, it's up to you. Okay. You can see Christian will always believe in going to church, we should wear a particular clothes. Muslim also they do the same. So that's how we believe, so it shouldn't be a crime, it shouldn't be a conflict. So that's what law is talking about. Okay, the next one. uh This one is about the definition of governance, John Locke. Okay, John Locke philosophy of governance centers on the concept of natural rights, the social contract, and the consent of the governed. His approach to governance is designed to protect individual rights and maintain order and justice, shaping the foundation of modern democratic theories. You see, so this one is talking about the governance, the concept, the natural rights, okay, to protect individual rights, maintain order and justice. You see, if we don't maintain individual rights, it will become a conflict. So that's what John Locke is talking about. Okay. Uh, the next one, governance has the protection of natural rights. Okay, for Locke, the primary purpose of governance is to protect individuals' natural rights, life, liberty, and property. He believes that people form governments to ensure these rights are safeguarded. This, this protection is fundamental. If a government cannot or does not protect these basic rights, it falls in its primary function and loses legitimacy, governance. Okay. Uh, Governance in Locke's view is a moral duty where the authority of rulers is limited to what is necessary to protect the rights of the people. Okay, so this one is talking about the individual rights. You know, we should respect the individual rights or the life, liberty, and property. What I said in my former slides, in peace, in the concept of peace of John Locke, he mentioned about protecting the individual rights, the life, okay, liberty, and property. Okay, so the next one, governance through the social contract. Okay, Locke's social contract theory is central to his understanding of governance. According to Locke, individuals agree to form a government by consenting to a society or to a social contract in which they relinquish certain freedoms in exchange of the protection of their remaining rights. Governance, in this sense, is an agreement between the government and the people with the expectation that the government will act for the common good and ensure justice, safety, and peace in society. You see, so this one is talking about agreement, okay, between the government and the people. Okay, they should have common good and make sure we have justice. Okay, without justice, we cannot have peace. Okay, we cannot have safety. Okay, so that's what John Locke is talking about. Okay, the next one, the consent of governance. Locke emphasized that legitimate government must derive from the consent of the governed. This means that authority does not come from divine right, inheritance, or force, but from the approval of the people. A government without consent is viewed as tyrannical and therefore unjust. The idea of governance based on consent has a lasting impact, serving as a fundamental foundation of foundation for democratic principles where leaders are accountable to the people. Okay, so if you have a government that is not approved, it means that that government is not a real government. That's what John Locke is talking about. You need a government that will be approved by the people. Okay, so that's the idea. We can have understanding among the people. So the government can be able to serve. Okay, as the foundation for democratic principle. Okay, so if you have a government who will just overthrow, take power with all the people consent, it means that that country will have conflict. That's what John Locke is talking about. Okay. Limited and accountable government. Locke advocated for limited governance, where the power of the government is confirmed by law to prevent abuses. He believed in the separation of powers within government, typically into legislative, executive, and judicial branches, to ensure that no single person or group could dominate. Governance in Locke philosophy is fundamentally about balance. It must have enough power to protect and enforce laws, but not so much, but it can infringe upon the freedom of its citizen. Okay, so the one is talking about where the power of the government uh, to prevent abuses, in belief in the separation of power, the legislative, executive, judicial, they should work separable. They should work in the interest of the people, So no one should dominate, like, uh, judicial have only the power. It's not good. It's dominant right there. Everybody should work together for the good of the country. You see, so that's what happening. If you look at a few countries in Africa, you notice that executive they have the power, legislative, judiciary they don't have the power much. Some country legislative, judiciary they have the power, executive don't have the power. You see, so that's why he's talking about dominant. Okay, so move to the next one. Governance and the rights of rebels. Okay. Law introduced a revolutionary concept that if a government fails to uphold its ends of the social contract, people have a right to resist or even overthrow it. You see what he's talking about. Yeah, but this part, I have little problem with it because war is not the answer. To overthrow someone, you know, conflict is never the answer right now in anywhere in the world. So he said that uh, this right to rebel against oppressive governance is seen as a safeguard for the people, ensuring that governance remains just and respectful for individual rights. For Locke, governance is though conditional and accountable, not absolute, and the people have ultimate authority to correct and dissolve it if it becomes unjust. See? So if it is unjust, I don't think it's necessary to go to war or overthrowing. You can impeach the president by the legislature, the judiciary, they can vote, they can impeach, but it's not by going to war. War is never the answer. You see, so you see many countries now in the world have been affected by war and they are still into crisis. Like Libya now, killing Gaddafi was not the answer. Libya is going through I don't know what to say about it. It's not easy. If you look at Congo now, it's not easy. Liberia is also struggling. 14 years war. See what is happening now in Yemen? Like 75 years war. War is never the answer. Okay. So that's what John Locke is talking about. But I have a little problem with it, with this one about rebel overthrowing. Okay, so the next one, governance with justice and tolerance. Locke also argued that governance should promote justice and tolerance, especially religious tolerance. He believed that governments should focus on civil interests, such as life, liberty, and property, while allowing individual freedom in matters of personal belief and conscience. That approach maximum say the minimum say unnecessary conflict and helps create a more cohesive, peaceful society guided by mutual respect and fairness. You see, so this one is also talking about again. It talks about this one in peace. So this part is about governance. He's also talking about to protect life, liberty, and property. Okay, allowing individual to have freedom. Okay, some countries don't have freedom. They don't easily do things they want to do. Government tell them how to eat, tell them how to dress, tell them when to sleep, tell them when to go to school. See, they control them. So that's why John Locke is talking about. You should give individual freedom. Okay. So I think that's the end. So I'll wait for a question now.
No conclusion, no. Okay.
Okay.
First of all, start from the beginning because we need to clarify certain things. First of all, it appears that you are confusing. Are you confusing governance and government? Or do you really mean governance when you are writing? Because the two terminologies are not the same. Are you guys understanding what I'm saying? Did you follow or you are doing something else? Huh? You follow the presentation? Okay, so correction or clarification? Okay.
Okay, I'll start with the contribution. I think you could also have mentioned in terms of governance. You should have mentioned that John Locke is also credited with the reason why we have church and state, because he advocated for the separation of the church and state, and it led to modern secular governance that we have currently. Now, the question I have towards the end, you talked about the right to rebel, right?
Yeah.
And you said war is not the answer.
Yeah.
But in modern times, let's take a look at Burkina Faso as a case study. Burkina Faso overthrew their government, and they're doing better with than an overthrown government right now. Sometimes overthrowing the government does not necessarily lead to war. It doesn't have to be a war. It just, we don't want you anymore and you're refusing to leave. So we take you out by force. Because if we take the case of Burkina Faso, Sri Lanka, they overthrew their president and they kicked him out, her out, and they're doing better for it now. So sometimes I think, in my opinion, overthrowing governments is a good thing. What do you think?
Okay.
I will come back. First of all, I would like us to get through your. Thank you very much for that observation. Very, very important. Let's get through your PowerPoint once again. Normally, I go through PowerPoint when the presenter may be struggling with microphone or something else may have happened. So now, starting from the beginning, who is John Locke? I want us to understand who is John Locke. John Locke, in my own view, is one of the philosophers of today's democracy. If you follow everything, you understand where they are coming from all over the world. He's one of the outstanding political philosophers. That is where most people in majority of the government policies or governance, whichever way you might define it, some of them take from John Locke. Hello? When you hear about democracy, see where they started collecting the tenets of democracy from this particular philosopher. Okay, next slide. Next. Okay. Then here you try to tell us in your presentation what is what is philosophy? And you said it's a study of fundamental questions about existence, knowledge, values, reason, mind, and language. It's a way of thinking deeply about life, the universe, and everything in it, questioning assumptions and exploring the nature of reality and human existence. Okay. Okay, now, so he gave us the presenter gave us the definition of philosophy. First of all, I started with who is John Locke. The next thing, definition of what philosophy. Let's get to the next slide and see what he's driving at. Okay, the next slide is a John Locke definition of peace, because this class is peace and governance. So according to the presenter, he tries to let us know that John Locke's concept of peace is deeply tied to the ideas and natural rights, social contract, and governance. Is it governance or government? Hello, Mr. Presenter. You said tied to his ideas on natural rights, social contract, and governance. I would like to know, is it governance or government?
Governance.
Okay, in your presentation, it means governance, right?
Yeah.
Okay. For Locke, peace is not simply the absence of conflict or war. Peace is not simply the absence of conflict or war. It is a condition of social harmony and justice where individuals' rights are protected and society functions with mutual respect, freedom, and cooperation. Do you understand the concept of peace according to John Locke as presented by the presenter? Peace is not simply the absence of conflict. Hello? And then it is a condition of social harmony and justice where individuals' rights, when my right is protected and your right is protected, that is peace. Are you guys getting the connection about this political philosopher? When you hear about the concept of peace, it's not just because there is peace here. Just because you have the right and your right is respected and my own right is respected and protected as well. Is that correct? Do we go further? Okay. Now get to the next slide. John Locke believed that true peace exists in a society where individual natural rights such as life, liberty, and property are safeguarded. Do you see how he believed peace? John Locke, your life is protected and safeguarded, and your property is protected and safeguarded. What else? Your liberty, you are free, your freedom. I am not sure if you guys are getting this connection. And that is why if you see most people, most countries all over the world, from Europe or America, if you look at it clearly, you see that their democracy is not the same with some of us from developing countries. I guess they are following where the real tenets of democracies started. But they imposed it in some other countries anyway, in such a way that is not acceptable by them. Or maybe they don't connect it at the time they imposed it on them. And that is why sometimes is a problem. And that's why sometimes some people tend to think that democracy doesn't work in every place. Hello? Okay. Now we move on. John Locke's peace is closely connected to justice, which he saw as the fair and equal treatment of individuals under the law. You see how he sees peace? Fair and equal treatment of individuals under the law. In his vision, a government that enforces laws fairly and protects the rights of each justice establishes a peaceful society. Is that correct? Or is it easy?
Yes,
Yeah, it's that say, but at least in my own view, in the Western world, that is the case. Remember, even the president of Almighty America, after even he was taking the court, right, and has some issues in the court. That's to show that no man is above the law. So, according to Locke, when justice is upheld by government that genuinely represent the people, it leads to stability and mutual respect within the community. Do you agree with this? The question is that does that happen in Indonesia? A student from Indonesia, does it happen like that? Okay. What about Bangladesh? Does it happen like that? Do you think it happens? How about Kenya? No? Okay. How about Nigeria, Nigerian students? A government that enforces laws fairly and protects the rights of its citizens establishes a peaceful society. Locke argued that when justice is upheld by a government that genuinely represents the people, it leads to stability and mutual respect within the community. Does it happen? In developing countries. Why? Because you and I, myself, you are the government. Why it doesn't happen? Emmanuel Obi. Why it doesn't happen? This is why you're closing your. I hope we're safe. Okay, hold it. I will come back. Next is a John Locke piece is closely connected to justice, which is as now we have treated this one. Okay, peace through social contract and consent. If you come to my office, sometime nowadays I have declaration. If not that declaration, I know that so many things would have gone wrong. So John Locke is talking about a country, and he is talking about a people. Then social contract and consent, not just social contract. Social contract here, you can imagine that to be constitution. Locke's social contract theory suggests that people create governments to ensure peace by protecting their natural rights. The peace Locke envisioned is therefore grounded in the idea of consent. People willingly give power to a government in exchange for protection and fair treatment. If people are governed by laws they help create or consented to, they are more likely to respect those laws and reducing social conflict. Are you guys in this? Are you getting the point here? We gathered together and said that we have to follow the rule of this classroom. So and so, everybody agreed. That is our contract. And then not just everybody agreed, we consented, we signed. So that's what he's saying, that if the government is like that, people agreed and then elected someone, they may likely be responsible and agree that they have failed and go to court and go to jail happily because they did that willingly or because it is based on what they had agreed upon. So always follow John Locke, not just in this class. If you really want to be fair to yourself, read John Locke after the class. If you don't want to read, go to YouTube. There are so many points about John Locke. So that by the time you get your degree as a Master's of Peace Studies and Diplomacy, in any community you find yourself, in any society you belong, whether it's in your country or even in any association or union, when you are talking about democracy, you will not forget these people that actually started and kickstarted all the elements that we are following today. And you'll be able to explain it to people around you. Hello? Okay, next. Then John Locke again, through tolerance. Locke's writings on religious tolerance also connect to his idea of peace. You see, that's what Chelsea immediately pointed out. He argued that allowing people to follow their own beliefs without persecution will reduce conflict and contribute to societal peace. Do you know why he said it? During his own time?
I think he said it because during this time, I think, I'm not sure if it's still the Renaissance period, whereby religion plays a very huge part in Europe at this point. So when he's saying people should have their own beliefs and try to be respected, he's trying to separate the governance part of the religion and the church to have two different separate ways so that the church can remain the church. And he's trying to be very respectful at the same time because it's a period where the tensions of the religious tensions are very high during his time, this time.
Now, it's not just in this class. It's not just to sit in this class. If you don't go and research about this, you will not get it. There are periods in time. There are periods in history. In fact, there was a time even Pope would decide who will rule. There was a time the Pope would decide who will be the king. The church was interfering in over so many things. Sometimes you cannot even separate the church and the government. The Pope decides. It's not what we can talk more in this class. Please do thorough research and read more, so that when you come out as a master's degree student in this department, you'll be able to talk like one knowledgeable enough, the one that spend the time. So he's trying to say that time, he now came in, that the church will be the church, the state will be the state. Instead of the manipulation of the church authorities or governmental authorities, sometimes people get confused where is where. You will understand it better if you read. Therefore, sometimes some people are persecuted based on civil issues, and some people are persecuted based on religious issues. But the two, according to him, shouldn't be. So tolerance, people should be allowed to stay on their own lane, if they on their own belief system, without confusing it with a civil system or civil society. Okay, and what he's trying to say then with that, is now think about peace. Tolerate people. You're a Muslim, and you're an African traditional religionist, then that is belongs to you. Then you're a Christian, you're a Buddhist, and should be allowed to be. Okay. So John Locke division of governance. Is it John Locke division of governance or John Locke division of government?
Governance.
Huh?
Governance.
Why should it be governance?
Because I think governance is
The people.
Governance, okay.
so governance.
Governance.
Is
This is,
And the governance is the way you act.
yeah.
Yes.
But if you are, you can also put it in this way. If you are telling us what you think John Locke would mean by governance, but the point is that if we follow you, we find out that you are talking about government, because you have the right to put it in this way. But the point is that when you want to explain, you are concentrated on the government. But government is about the people who are the people itself themselves. But the governance is the system, the way. Yeah, so you have the right. You can still maintain, but you have to explain it and put it in a way that we won't be confused about John Locke and your own interpretation of his governance concept of governance by John Locke. Are you guys there? Okay. So John Locke's philosophy of government centers on the concept of natural rights. In other words, if you mean by governance, which means you are saying that John Locke, from what we have read from him, his understanding of governance should be something that will come and concentrate on natural rights. But when you say that, you get more confused, because it's better to leave it as government, so that you'll now be able to talk about government and then lead it to governance. Okay, now, John Locke's philosophy of governance centers on the concept of natural rights, the social contract, and the consent of the governed. His approach to governance is designed to protect individual rights. Yeah, government. And maintain order and justice, shaping the foundation of modern democratic theory. Okay, always remember that there's a difference between governance and government. You have to explain the government and use the explanation of government to talk about governance. But anyway, the nuances are not that much. Okay, next. Protection of natural rights. Primary purpose of governance is to protect individuals' natural rights. I would say primary purpose of government is to protect individual rights. Life, liberty, and property. So by John Locke, what it means by natural rights, you were born with it. No one will just come and kill you anyhow. No, that is life. And then liberty, you should be free to do whatever you want. And then property, you own your property, and your property must not be destroyed. You see? He believed that people form governments to ensure these rights are safeguarded. So, Emmanuel Obi, are you there? Why are you looking, closing your eyes? Is there any situation? I told you to please buy eyeglass. You cannot solve it by just go and then start wearing like. I was wearing it at a stage. Stubbornly, I stopped. I don't know why, but I went to check and I found out that it's not getting worse. So maybe I stubbornly stopped and I got better option, but I don't know if you continue. So let's get back to the point. Emmanuel Obi, remember each time he talks passionately and emotionally about Nigerian government, you see where he may be coming from. Because actually government are not just there for their own selfish interest. The reason for government is for people. Hello? Emmanuel Ngozi, are you there? The reason for government is people, nothing more. So if you are being voted in to be a leader or president or senator or whoever, the only reason why you were voted is to safeguard the interests of people, to protect their life, to protect their freedom, and protect their property. That is what Western democracy says. Collins, are you about to sleep or what? Are you sure you slept yesterday? Are you guys there? So it's good for you to understand this so that you teach it to others, and because that getting a degree is all about being academically empowered to be able to let people know the real meaning of certain things. So whenever you see people, they talk about government in democratic sense of it. Government is all about safeguarding the property of people, safeguarding people's life, and safeguarding their freedom. That is what John Locke is telling us. This protection is fundamental. If a government cannot or does not protect these basic rights, it fails in its primary function and loses legitimacy. Are you there? Hello? So when you see Emmanuel Obi as a political science student shouting and telling you, shut up, sit down, this is this, this is that, today I have to support him. That's a fact. Once a government fails in these three things, the government has lost its legitimacy and doesn't deserve to be respected. Because the essence of being in government is to take care of people, not your family, not only yourself. Governance, in Locke's view, is a moral duty. Yeah, I can agree with the concept use of governance here. Governance or government, in Locke's view, is a moral duty where authority of rulers is limited to what is necessary to protect the rights of the people. Hello? So I agree with the use of the word governance here. It's a moral duty to have systems, to have policies, to have processes that will lead to protecting people's life, protecting people's property, and protecting people's freedom. You want to be whatever you want to be. You want to do whatever you want to do. You cannot force everybody to be the same. You cannot force everybody to be like you. Freedom. Hello? Hello? Are you guys there? So the natural right is life, property, and freedom. Okay, governance through the social contract. You see, you cannot talk about John Locke without social contract. And social contract, you might take that to the constitution of your country. But then the constitution, who and who wrote it? Are you part of the writers or you contributed? So in his own concept, take it very seriously, he said, social contract is central to his understanding of government, understanding of the governance. According to Locke, individuals agree to form a government by consenting to a social contract in which they relinquish certain freedom in exchange for the protection of their remaining rights. You see? Governance in this sense is an agreement between the government and the people and the expectation that the government will act for the common good and ensure justice, safety, peace in society. Let me get back to Chelsea. Are you agreeing with Emmanuel Obi when he shouts? Mike, can you agree with Emmanuel Obi when he's shouting about what government should do and the failure of the government? Okay. Okay. Yeah.
But at the same time,
You agree with him on what level and on what level?
I agree with him on. I can relate to the frustration because I'm also like, we are from the same place, same country. Yeah, so I would say to a very large extent, I can relate to the frustration and everything. But what I don't usually often agree is the method.
Method of presentation.
Yes. So, but his points are valid. Like what he's raising is valid.
Wonderful. I have nothing to say. I think you hit it very well. The method, even though when somebody is frustrated, you can always. Do you agree or disagree with Emmanuel Obi when he's in this class shouting and telling you now that a failure is a failure?
I agreed with him.
Do you disagree in any way?
No.
Even the method?
Not even the method, because he's fighting his rights. And I don't have to be against his method, the way he wants to push you about it.
Right.
So that's his right.
Okay. So, Chelsea, which one do you agree? Method or?
You know, there's something they say.
Because in everything he was
Yes.
saying, look at John Locke. John Locke would just. Emmanuel is acting like John Locke.
If you look very clearly and very closely and keenly, we never say we are disagreeing with what he's saying.
I didn't say you guys disagree.
We disagree with the method he uses. And because of that, everything he says can be misinterpreted because of how you put it.
Very good.
That's why there are things are called diplomatic answers on how you say them. If you want people to listen, don't start shouting at them. It will not
But
work.
what if that is his own manner of expression?
Now that's why we're all learning. We are learning to relate to that, and he's learning to relate to us. There's no way it can be.
Wonderful.
Yes.
I think you have a nice explanation. You have a, Sometimes what happens?
Sometimes when you follow it gently, just like what happened, like you rightly said before about Burkina Faso, if they were going through dialogue and, I think it wouldn't have worked, but the way they did it, they had to forcefully, they had to overthrow the government. I don't think they were saying, you have to do like this, you have to, I think, they had to come out forcefully so that aim of their distance can be achieved.
Sometimes violence.
Yes.
Violence. You use violence to achieve what you want.
Sometimes use violence. Why should you use violence to achieve what you want? Violence is violence.
Yeah, but there's a context. This is a class setting. And this is a school.
This is a class setting, but maybe at the point, most of you are representing the very government that is illegitimate as a failure.
We are not. Because we are feeling the pain. We are all like apart. If we come and we are having a shouting match.
That is why there is individual differences. That's why Socrates is different from Plato. Countered Socrates and you about government. We are saying.
But learning, does it mean I have to keep quiet in the class?
So it doesn't mean you come at me at a personal level at the same time.
Well, has he ever come to a personal? I'm not.
We're not talking about manual, we're talking about productive ways in which we can learn.
Correct, but then we are the center.
Diplomatic answers.
But Emmanuel Obi has always waited until you give him microphone and his own turn to talk, and he has to express himself. And then throughout his expression, the point that most of you appears to be aligning with the government in question, so he has to express himself the way. I wouldn't say that there is anything systemically very wrong, especially when somebody like me is the facilitator, because I'm from the field of philosophy. where you allow people to talk, because that is where the real knowledge comes. It might be that sometimes it might be over. Anybody can overdo it, but I think without that is method, probably some people will not understand. People will not even
Just
get
answered
it.
yourself.
Mm.
Yes.
So because sometimes when he stresses over things, if some students get, some people, students like Colin sleeping, we wake up. That's advantage. Some students like Seppi that he will be waiting for time to go home will be energized. You know that he has put in a lot of things in the class. It's only some students who are also active like him might feel otherwise. But as a facilitator in the class, I wish I have more of students like that. Then you see the class that people will go home with something. Because my own principle is that education is about removing something from someone, presumably, as they say, ignorance. And when somebody talks, doesn't mean that he knows everything, but by talking, he goes home and reflects. If somebody is expressing himself and you are expressing yourself, at the end of the day, if the person really wants to know, if he gets home, he will see that is an avenue to add something. But when people come and keep quiet and then we go home, come on, is that education? Anyway, the point is that it depends on the teacher. My own methodology, I would like everybody to argue forcefully as you can to make your point. That's what these philosophers did, frankly speaking. And don't forget, all of them are coming from a point of view. Like John Locke coming from a point of view states, you see. He was so mad at the way the states are being interfering, just opposing the states with the church. He was so mad at it. And he wasn't coming in a very polite way. In fact, if they can fight, they could also fight. And don't forget again, in the history of state and religion, remember about the crusade? Has anyone read about it? Crusaders. Hmm? Who can say something? Who can tell me something? If you have read about it, or Emmanuel Obi. Emmanuel Obi, they want to hear from you. Do you know about, can you tell us anything about Crusaders? Do you know, have you come about? Okay, doesn't have any idea. Crusaders are just for you to be aware. Any other person? To be aware that actually there was a time the church, okay, I think Chelsea has something to say.
I don't really know about it.
It's something we paraphrase throughout. It is a period whereby the European Christians were almost acting like a military force.
Mm.
And that's all I know about it. I just know the Crusaders were acting, they were Christians, and they were fighting for the church in a way that, yes, like a war militia type of thing. That's how I would describe it.
Yeah, I think you got that. That's the summary of the entire thing.
Yeah.
That's actually the summary of the entire. Who else will have something to say? We are talking about violence. We are talking about taking it easy. Church, did they take it easy at their time?
For me, the Crusaders' time was a point in time in history where the church was enforcing, like fighting for the values of the church. Like they wanted to enforce, like in a brutal way. People like they were.
God sent them, right?
Yes, yes. They believe that
God sent them to kill people to.
yeah, exactly. Then
Who sent them? God, is it?
they burned people on stakes. The philosophers were murdered. Like they were just doing those things. They said
And
God
then
sent
some
them.
emperors sometimes on the other side, in another part of Europe, will try to kill people who are believing in God and who are talking about God, who are carrying Bible. They burn their Bible, they burn them alive because they think they believe in God, just to appease, just to retaliate. So many things, atrocities happen.
Yeah,
I don't think the atrocities that happen
during
in
that
Europe will
crusade.
ever be repeated elsewhere. But the point is that that is not story you are being told. We are being told. We are being told the other side of the story.
So this also brings me to my contribution on John Locke, because I've read a little bit of about him, and he was also one of the philosopher whose work promoted colonialism. So, but it was not captured here. So I just want to bring it to our attention, because John Locke was part of, he was a shareholder in the Royal African Niger Company. He was a shareholder in that company. So, and it's contradictory for someone who's an academic or a philosopher whose work has contributed a lot to human individuals' rights, democracy, and all of that, to now directly or indirectly support a system that dehumanizes other humans. You get, so it's kind of contradictory. So he also played a role in colonialism to a very large extent.
Yeah, that is a very nice point, actually. Very, very nice one.
I would say
To Michael's point, I think what we're learning with all these philosophers, in as much as we haven't captured them, maybe in the next class they will capture it, but every philosopher has a limitation in the sense that they might have contributed to very good things, that we have the theories, the peace, the governance, but they also have limitations. Plato was crazy. Let's start there. John Locke has the colonization aspect of it, right? So I think maybe in future we can look at their contributions and their limitations. Because if we only look at their contributions and we are all humans and no human is perfect, so by definition they should have a limitation. I think that's Yeah.
You're very correct. You're very, very. Any other person, anything to add? Okay, so thank God you guys are just getting the point and the way the point should be. Locke emphasized that legitimate government must derive from the consent of the governed. This means that authority does not come from divine right. You get that? Authority does not come from divine right, inheritance, or force, but from the approval of the people. A government without consent is viewed as tyrannical and therefore unjust. The idea of governance based on consent has had a lasting impact, serving as a foundation for democratic principles, where leaders are accountable to the people. Are you guys getting that? Do I have anything to add? Okay. So it's good to get these things better clarified. Okay, so is that the end?
No.
Because I'm almost repeating what you just said on the ground that I wanted them to be clarified. Locke advocated for limited government, where the power of the government is confined by law to prevent abuses. He believed in the separation of powers within government, typically into legislative, executive, and judicial branches to ensure that no single person or group could dominate. Government, in Locke's philosophy, is fundamentally about balance. It must have enough power to protect and enforce laws, but not so much that it can infringe upon the freedoms of its citizens. Are you guys getting all this information? Hello? Are you guys there? Sure? Or just waiting for the class to end? Because this is the real political science statement. This is the real international relations point. This is the real area of this our degree. If you don't get it, I don't know how to get it again. Limited and accountable government. Government is not the final, but they have their own power. I think the perfect way to explain it is American democracy. Remember, if you are reading the news, you see whatever, most of the things Trump did, he was still accountable, at least to the point of taking him to court. And certain time, president might do certain things, the Supreme Court will now shut it down. Okay.
I have two questions. So this is the second question. Based on democracy, my question is democracy the best form of government?
It depends on who. For me, I think, if you ask me, I think it is based on what I've seen, but it may not necessarily be for every country. I don't know. I don't have the right answer. Yes. Do you have anything to say to add? Democracy might be just like in Europe, because over the years they have gone through series of different forms of government and different forms of governance. So probably democracy is working for them now. But I don't know whether democracy in Nigeria is working or not.
That is why I asked this question because let me say something because we most not just Nigeria alone, most developing countries there is this idea because I see that as an idea. It's not because the real practice of democracy is not obtainable.
But do you know why?
That is why I'm confused because if you say we are practicing democracy and we are, okay,
because the reason is because democracy for who? For whom? Because at the end of the day, the colonial masters will still come and use democracy to keep you underdeveloped. It's possible.
Okay, so John Locke is considered father of democracy in a sense. He's accredited with forming his theories where he was used to form the American Constitution and the American Declaration of Human Rights, right? Now, America has been independent for over 200 years. Europe was never even colonized in the first place. These are countries whereby they have seen, like Dr. Emmanuel has said, they have seen different forms of government. They've seen anarchy, they've seen monarchical rule, they've now come to democratic rule, and now they think, okay, this is working. Yes.
The what we are having today as a state is coming from the atrocities committed by all these people.
By them.
They had so many conferences, from
Yeah.
one conference, another conference, another conference, another conference, before they now use the word they call nation state.
Yes. Now
Because
imagine.
they don't want this monarchy to be doing this. That was the time they are cutting off sometimes they protest and go and kill the monarchy, carry his head. Come on, go and
So
do all this stuff.
now
So
imagine.
that you understand that actually we are set for some of us that are
Yeah.
in the country that we think we are not
Because
doing well.
imagine like this, Africa and the global south in general, the developing countries, we've not had 200 years of freedom. Countries are still having, Sudan is 5-10 years now, South Sudan. So it will take us 200 years of trying to figure out ourselves
That is if
before,
we are allowed.
if we allow it. Because now Burkina Faso, for them, overthrowing the government has worked. And they want the current military guy to be president. Without even an election, they say, we want you. Now, they should be able to be allowed to do that. What works for them? Because what works in Burkina Faso it's not what works in South Africa. South Africa works with a democratic because there's so many and very different. So for them, it works. What happens in Kenya cannot work for what happens in Nigeria. But now, because of neo-colonization, the colonial masters have control. And that's why I'm so happy for the Western African countries which are saying no to France. Because now they can have their own independent ideas. And if it fails, it's on them. Which is why I think democracy might not work now. But in 200 years, it might work. If we give ourselves time to go through all the phases that they also went through. But because of neo-colonization, they will not accept us to do that. Because if we do, then we will be, in Swahili we say, mjinga kerevuka mwerevu yuko matatani. That means if a foolish man becomes bright, then the bright man is in trouble.
Yes.
Makes sense? So because of that, they want to keep you foolish and say democracy has to happen. And they know when you have democracy, sometimes it doesn't work and you have to fight.
Why you don't have TikTok or website where you say all these things? Women are very powerful. You should be saying this. We want to hear a vibrant Kenyan.
No, this is classroom knowledge.
You have to come out. Because I have so many ideas that you can. Yeah, you go. I mean, just stop wasting time. I mean, come on.
But you understand
YouTube, even in whether Facebook or TikTok, start these ideas.
I'm shy.
No, start it because a lot of women they're always shy, and that's why the world is suffering because most of you are not coming out.
But you understand the point, right?
The point is very clear.
So we can't pair and compete
But my
with
thing is
people,
that it's only in this country.
with your followers.
Yeah.
Professor, you have 500 followers, so
Yeah, but I want you to start in your own instantly so that you start sharing these ideas because at least you might in a year you might get about 100 people that are strongly following the same. That's how we make the change.
yeah.
I'm telling you honestly, not only this, all these ideas will end in this class. Come on, just like when we write thesis, you may have a wonderful point and it just be in the library. In the library. So the world is opening up now. Just start to open TikTok and begin to get these ideas out there. You might get about 5 or 10 or 20 person. It is something because this is how we pursue. There's one woman, I don't know where, ambassador or whatever. You guys must have seen it. Exactly what you're saying, the way it was. Yeah, one ambassador or whatever. I can't remember. Very strong African woman. Oh.
Lots of them.
Yeah, and then the social media is coming up. Social media is opening up a lot of things. So that is the point. They will tell you democracy, but then why should we be practicing it? Why must that be imposed to us even when we're not ready for that?
Yeah,
you see that?
in Afghanistan right now, not practicing democracy.
I think Assad of Syria is already overthrown. And then who are the people supporting all this, even till all those years? It depends on the interests of the democratic countries. Then that questions what democracy. Maybe democracy for their people, because you know what? If you go to all these European countries, frankly speaking, they practice this very well. Government is all about safeguarding the life of the people, safeguarding the liberty of the people, safeguarding the property of the people. I bet you honestly, they do that in their place. But if you ask me what they do outside their place, I tend to think is that they try, some of them destabilize another place in order to get something from there, in order to take care of their people. Yeah. And that is why you and I sitting in this class as people from underdeveloping countries or developing countries, we ask ourselves the question, even in this class, did you read this John Locke very well? Have you read it very well? If you didn't, then you don't have any solution because you're still ignorant. Yeah. It's not just to say you have master's degree, we are studying. No. Go and get all this information. They are very, very important, so that you will be able to know what is happening in your country and why it is happening. And now know when you are being fooled. Even here in Thailand, I see some of you, especially my fellow Nigerians, especially my fellow Igbo Nigerians. Come on. When I'm in a position, I see things, the way things happen and why it happened. But you will see my fellow countryman. Yeah, I got it. He finds it difficult to understand that this is this way. This is Thailand. I love Thai people so much because they're also very smart in their. I don't know whether to call them smartest people I've ever seen in this world. They were and then you think the person doesn't know anything. Who told you? Ask an average Thai a question he doesn't know, because he wants the rightful person who is authority to do what to say it, not him or her. If you get into this country, we are studying now, you respect them. Very intelligent and very smart, I bet you. Because I've already known what happens. Remember, it's not colonized. The king was very smart and very intelligent, very brilliant, very knowledgeable enough, and stood on their ground. So it's not now that you now think, no, they will find a way, just the same way their king did it, in order to tell you that they are strong. And that is why we are enjoying their kindness and their gesture. But the problem is that whether you are seeing it like that, because the world is all about selfish interest. You give me something, I give you something. You're talking, some of you here from Nigeria, for Igbo people, we're talking about Biafra. Why can you get it? They will try to calculate what are they going to gain and whether they will really actually gain anything. You see, and if they think they cannot gain anything, you keep talking. They keep talking, keep talking in the Facebook, and keep shouting. At the point they think that is enough for you, they plot everything, just like Nandi went to Kenya, blah, 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 blah. All the international laws were broken. He went to Kenya, one of the agitators. He went to Kenya and he was taken from Kenya. Broke all the laws of international law about there's the extraordinary extradition, whatever. There's what the rendition or whatever. Yes, exactly. And now who is talking about it? Is it Britain are coming to tell Nigeria, no, you committed? Are they saying that? Have you seen British government coming to say that this is against the law?
And he's a British.
And they are democracy. So the point is that what will I gain? And the point is that most of us sitting here also from the same tribe are not also learning. Because life is all about what will I gain. When you talk about global whatever. Yeah. You are looking for a job in Thailand. I'm sure you're not looking for a job because the question is that when they look at you, the question when they look at you, what will they call it? The question when they look at you, now what will you see? So the question is very nice. Democracy, democracy. For who?
For who?
For whom?
For what people?
And for what purpose? Okay, so now let's listen to Professor Emmanuel.
Open.
Okay, in addition to what everyone has said, in terms of democracy and countries practicing democracy, I think the developing countries, in developing country, we have many systems. Basically, on political system, there are many political systems to practice. But because the Western world has made the democracy the utmost one to be practiced and has seen that as the best political system to enhance, we, the developing countries, queue in, regardless of the fact that the system that works in Europe may not work in some African countries. Because if you want to practice any political system, if you look around the Europe, you will see what we call transition process. Many countries, before they arrive at democracy, they have practiced one or two political systems. And if you come to Africa, you will see quite all right that the political system that is fast enough, in my own view, in Africa, the best system to practice is this military era, because it will get to fastness in development, because all we need as a developing country is to develop our country first before we can queue up to this democracy, because it is only people who have met up with their economic base that have already conquered the economic challenges. We now talk about this democracy, because in the Western world where this democracy is being practiced very well, you will see that the economy is stable, the technology is okay. But in our country, we are still struggling to meet up with those infrastructures, of which we are still struggling till now. So in my own view, we don't need this democracy because it were imposed on us and we accepted it ignorantly without studying the fact in it, the basis of it. We don't know anything about it. And I will say that we are being deceived because of lack of education then. Because any political system you have to practice, you have to go into it, study it very well. It is even better for most African countries to, if you go to this democratic system, this political system, it doesn't work for you, you transition to another level. You practice this one. You need to practice many systems so that you will see the perfect one, because every ecology has a political system that favors them. The system that favors Ghanaians may not be the system that favors Nigeria. The system that favors Nigeria may not be the system that favors South Africans, regarding the environment we live and with the cultural beliefs, the tribes in it, both the ethnicity. So if you look at the challenges you are facing in your own country, the political actors, I will say, when they look at the challenges they faced in their own country, you will now know the best government, the best political system to use in your own country that will gear to the development and trash out those challenges. This is what we should look on. But today we don't look at it because the Western world has made democracy, bringing all the contents, putting both respect of human rights and everything. But when you dive into it, you will find out that this particular system is meant for developed country who are economically stable, politically stable, even technological stable. But we that are state struggle, we need a political system that we gear to the fastness of our development in the country, not a system that we bring us to the, to the backward of what we have been suffering before. Let's take, for instance, most of developed things that we have built in Nigeria, we are built during military era, though there was many loss of life which we encounter. That is the fear of people in terms of this military era. But if there is a caution that will be applied in the system, believe me, it will be okay, because it never needs any parliament to approve. Just put the decision, it will go that way. The development will be fast. Not to go to first bill, second bill, third bill. After a series of argument, you will come back and nothing will be done about it. And whenever you misbehave, the regional government, the regional head will, he will penalize you on that. So when you look at the system, the military system, this is in my own view, I think that is the best system that would have worked. But why they don't want it is because if African countries begin to practice military system, it will affect the negotiation, the negative negotiation of the Western world to the African countries, because the negotiation is all about exploitation of our resources. That is everything they come to negotiate with us in terms of trade and everything. You understand? So if this military now comes in now, believe me, they will run away, because military don't need the authority to do anything. If you don't want the government to belong to one group that we are, will I say, instituted by the Western world, hell to you. You understand? Because they know, the Western people, they know that this particular system is what we get on. It's not that this is what we are going to practice all through our life, but for temporary time, so that we can be able to develop our country. For now, thank you.
Okay, wonderfully put. So when he was talking, I remember that when British government came to Nigeria, for example, I don't know where they got the visa to enter.
That is true.
Which requirement, which document? Did they submit their bank statement? And then were they given invitation from anybody inside our country as at that time when they invaded? And went to So when Emmanuel B is talking, this just came to my mind. Democracy, democracy, democracy. When British government or people started entering Nigeria, who gave them the visa as at the time? And then imagine they were given the visa at that 1880 whatever, or 18 or 17 whatever. Which requirement did they submit? And
Exactly.
today, you and I, when we want to go to the country, you know now. You know the kind of list of requirements you have to come in. And yet it's democracy. I thought we were supposed to be free to enter there and come in and come out.
It's an interesting question. It's actually an international topic of discussion in regards to the visa fees that people pay in the visa offices. Do you think they should be refundable if you don't get the visa?
Of course, should be refundable. Thank you.
Because it's a money making for the Western world or the countries that people want to go to. If you get 1,000 or 2,000 applications in an hour and all of them are paying 20,000 baht, and you're only granting 5 people in a day the visa, yes.
That's a scam. For me, it's a scam.
But now it was a debatable issue. Like the embassy in Nairobi, US embassy makes a lot of money, 6 billion Kenya shillings in a year. So when Trump became president, the High Commission, what are they called? The head of the embassy resigned.
Depends on what they call it.
Yeah.
Why did he resign?
Diplomatic answers. Honestly, we have no idea why she resigned, but speculation were that people who are not supporting Trump, when he entered office, they resigned because they were going to be replaced anyway. So to avoid embarrassment, you take a walk.
Well, if we keep talking about democracy and the evils of democracy, we will not live here. But the point is that is the reason why we're in this class. So, according to John Locke, Locke introduced revolutionary concept that if a government fails to uphold its end of the social contract, people have a right to resist or even overthrow it. This right to rebel against oppressive government is even seen as a safeguard for the people, ensuring that government remains just and respectful of individual rights. For Locke, government is thus conditional and accountable, not absolute. And the people have the ultimate authority to correct or dissolve it if it becomes unjust. That is talking about protest here. And most African countries, when you protest, shoot aside. And they say it's a democracy. And then who will support them when they shoot aside? The same democratic governments, either America or Britain, will not, they will just say in the newspaper for their newspaper, only newspaper will say, not even the government, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, they will still welcome the government. At the end of the day, they will still plan for their own interest. Are you guys there? Are you there? At the end of the day, they will still go and meet and talk. And then forget the so-called democracy. Because they don't want that change you are talking about. In my own view, the interest is not, it will not work for them. So whenever you see rebel democracy, some people putting on flag of UN, what would UN do for you? I think Nnamdi Kanu is still in jail, right? Has he been released? Has UN coming? Has UN said anything? Even when the court has granted him bail to leave, the question is, has UN said anything? Democracy, democracy, democracy. The point is that we have to read, we have to do more research in order to always come out. Thank God, this social media they provided us nowadays is also an avenue. You can create your own world and start saying what you want to say. I believe that people are learning nowadays. I'm very happy when I open TikTok. I see so many groups, live TikTok, people sharing ideas. And people are awakening. They're awakening very fast. Okay. So, is it the end of your life? Okay, with justice and tolerance, we have said that almost the same thing we just said before. So, what is the next topic?
Finish.
Okay, governance with justice. So, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you very much for your presentation. And thank you guys for your contribution in this particular presentation. So now we will end this particular part of the class. Thank you. See you once again. If you have anything, you can comment. And you have any idea, you can also add to it. Thank you.